Usually, golf Twitter is a happy place. Everyone is peacefully putt-putting with no sort of beef with each other. But things seem to have changed in this part of the world since the Civil War. You know what we're talking about, the LIV Golf versus the PGA Tour. And now, golfers are beefing with one another. In this video, let's talk about Shane Lowry's tweet that hit Bryson DeChambeau harder than the gallery rope. Let's start off with the golf beef. Like we said, for the most part, Twitter seems to be like a happy place when you step into the golfing world or its fandom. Everyone gets along here, and everyone isn't trying to start a beef with each other. Even Billy Horschel and Ian Poulter were recently able to find a way to put a fun spin on a video that looked like it was a pretty serious conversation. Of course, that whole discourse went viral. But the fact remains that they did add humor and fun to it, because that's what we expect from golfers, professional and amateurs both. But you'd be pretty surprised to hear that isn't what happens all the time. Right now, as you know, the current ongoing beef between the PGA Tour and LIV golfers has taken social media by storm, and no one can stop talking about the issues that it's creating. We're also getting memes and whatnot, but it doesn't deny the fact that things have taken quite a stormy turn for the sport of golf. We used to think that this was one sport that didn't have many controversies, but since the beginning of LIV Golf, things haven't settled down one bit. And just like that, on Twitter, Shane Lowry landed the biggest blow yet on Bryson DeChambeau. Next up, walked face first. We were going about our day thinking that #GalleryRopeGate was over after weeks of Bryson being ridiculed for walking face first into one during the LIV Chicago event. That #GalleryRopeGate incident gave us many angles and memes, more than any other sporting event this year. So, of course, adding to all the frenzy that was already happening around him was Bryson reacting like he'd been shot in the face. But his more recent reaction, which was allowing the recording of a silly video of his rematch with the rope to be shared, seemed to put the entire problem to rest. Like, come on, if he's laughing at himself and making funny videos, he must be over it, right? No matter if he'd acted all offended and weird in the beginning, he learned from his mistake. But who would have thought that wasn't the end for Bryson? He was about to get some more heat, and this time it was going to be from a fellow golfer who didn't hold back. Everything looked like it was coming up Bryson until Lowry, a non-LIV golfer, decided to jump in. Previously, Lowry took a shot at the new league LIV by calling his more recent BMW PGA win a win for the good guys. Then he dug it up again just so he could hit Bryson harder than that rope itself. He probably would be missing the rope right now. Speaking of the weather, in the video that Lowry shared on his Twitter, we can see a happy Bryson celebrating his victory against the rope when he passed with his head under it. There were people cheering around him, and Bryson even looked directly in the eye as he punched the air and celebrated his win. So, what was so bad about it? Looks like the two bros are chummy with each other, supporting each other's tiny wins. But oh no, you couldn't be more wrong. And if you read the caption that was attached to that video, you'd be in awe. Not in awe of the friendship, but at the beef that's so palpable between the two. Well, the caption basically said, "Not sure what's worse, this or tomorrow's @Dunhill Links weather forecast." Ouch. Looks like there's no love lost between the two of them. Talk about coming in from the top rope. But are you wondering what this even means? Don't worry, we're here for you. As you know from the caption that Lowry is going to be playing in this week's Alfred Dunhill Links Championship, where the weather is forecasted to be pretty nasty. But if you think about it, is there really such a thing as nasty weather in Scotland? Aren't those people used to it by now because that nasty weather is literally their normal weather? Anyway, so what he meant by his caption was that the unpleasantness of that video was much more than having to play in Scotland under those weather circumstances. Lastly, the mean streets of Twitter. Whether or not, we know regardless that there's some nastiness between some of golf's biggest stars at the moment. Justin Thomas also joined in on the fun and said that he'd vote for the first one, which obviously meant that he also wasn't a huge fan of Bryson. Darn, man's making some enemies. We wonder if Bryson DeChambeau is going to hit back or not, because if he does, Twitter, of course, is going to have a field day with it. And trust us, if you're cruising down the mean streets of golf Twitter these days, you'd better keep your eyes on the road and your hands on the steering wheel because it's going to be a rough ride. And thanks to the Civil War, you're going to have to choose sides, if you haven't already. Now, let's hop on to some other related Twitter beefs between golfers. Other related news. First off, the Billy Horschel and Ian Poulter interaction. That one's not really a beef though. Maybe potentially. So let's be clear. We do not know what the two said to each other in the video clip that's going crazy viral on golf Twitter. They could have been catching up about the series finale of Better Call Saul, which was just so good. Or they could also trash their soccer teams. Horschel is a West Ham and Poulter is an Arsenal fan, just in case you didn't know. So we don't want to speculate what they talked about and whatnot. But we can give you a little context as to why this could have been more than typical friendly chit-chat. Because first, it didn't look like your typical chit-chat. As you guys know, the tension is on the rise between PGA Tour players and the guys joining LIV Golf. Those deserting the tour have received bans, and in the case of Cameron Smith, even lost a prime parking spot at tour headquarters. And Horschel is one of the leading men when it comes to addressing this brutal fracture in the sport. Because Horschel literally asked contestants of the BMW PGA Championship, "Why are you here?" Those contestants were the 19 LIV golfers who signed up to play at this event. So it's pretty possible the two of them could be talking about that. And it could also be something spicier and heated. We may never know, though. Next, we have Trevor Immelman not having any of Greg Norman's well wishes for his team. The tensions continue between the two sides of the Civil War. Before the President's Cup, Greg Norman, a former international team star and captain, sent his best wishes to Trevor Immelman's squad. And well, Trevor Immelman wasn't having it. At all. When Greg Norman wished his team good luck on Twitter, Trevor replied with a LOL. Just a simple LOL. Talk about some spice. And when Immelman was asked what he made of Norman's well wishes, he basically just said that anyone who's known him for the longest time knows that he's an extremely open and honest person. He pretty much says exactly what he's thinking. So what he said was exactly what he was doing when he read the tweet. He was laughing out loud. Oh man, that's some honesty. And of course, as you know, Norman is the CEO of LIV Golf, which has caused a fracture in men's pro golf this year, which also meant that Immelman couldn't field his strongest team. And also, Norman's nice note looked suspiciously like not-so-humble brag about being part of the international team's only win. We get it, Greg. You used to be a dominant player. But times are a-changin', and you've chosen a side that your colleagues aren't on. Maybe learn to deal with it? Last of all, the Kevin Na, Grayson Murray Twitter beef saga continues. And some more PGA versus LIV news. We're telling you, this doesn't look like it's going to end. Kevin Na is leaving the PGA Tour after he resigned from his membership with the organization to chase opportunities with the LIV Golf Tour. And if it's working for him, then who are we to judge? But of course, that wasn't the case with Grayson Murray, who whipped out his phone to tweet some nonsense at Kevin. Like I said on the Range of Mexico, you won't be missed. At KevinNa915. At PGA Tour, our rounds just got 20 minutes faster. Okay, that was brutal. And who knows what else is going to happen in this beef between the two leagues. But we do know things aren't going to slow down from here. Well, that's it from us today. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you have any questions or thoughts about Shane Lowry's tweet at Bryson DeChambeau, let us know in the comments below. We'll see you in the next one.